Hey, I'm Cecily Korst. Welcome to the trailer.
I see a baby and think that's what I need. Someone to love who depends on me. Oh yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Well, here she comes, my little bundle of love.
I'm Tracy Newman, the mother.
And I'm Charlotte Dean, the daughter.
So, Tracy, tell us about your journey.
Really? The whole journey? That's a long journey. I can say that one of the highlights in my life, besides giving birth to this person, was the Groundlings. In 1972, I just joined this improv class here in LA, and Gary Austin was the teacher. And at that time, I'm going to name some people who were well known then, but I don't know if you'd know who they are. But Tim Matheson was in that. Craig T. Nelson, who became coach and millions of other things, and Pat Morita, who was in all of those
Miyagi is Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi. I mean, it was a really eclectic group in that class, and some of them weren't interested in staying in a company because they already had really good careers. But those of us who had no career and were just laughing and just enjoying improv, Laraine was in there. Mm-hmm. We just, after about 6 months in that thing, we thought we have enough material for a show. Let's do a show. So we moved to this place, the Oxford Theater, and we started doing shows, and then we realized we better have a name. So we had votes and everything. My sister and I. My sister's 9 years younger than me, so in a lot of ways she was like my daughter. So we wanted the name Working Class because we were a class and we were working. Mm-hmm. But nobody else wanted that. The Groundlings. The Groundlings, by the way, that name is from Shakespeare, for those who don't know where that name comes from. The Groundlings were the rabble, the people in the cheap seats in the front who threw tomatoes at the actors if they were bad. So, and in Shakespeare, it's like, don't split the ears of the Groundlings, telling people how to speak. And because we were all in the front, the most energetic and passionate about what we were seeing. So we became the Groundlings. And I very quickly I became the MC. I didn't do characters. I wouldn't get in the Groundlings today. I don't do characters. I just wouldn't have gotten in. But because I was, a founding member, I was automatically in the group. In fact, everybody was at that time. And there were like 25 people in the Groundlings, and we would all be on stage. There were maybe 30 seats at the Oxford Theater. So, there's always more people on stage than there were in the audience. What that did, though, for me, was put me in contact with all of these funny people. And one of them was a guy named John Stark. And at one point, he just said, "You want to write a spec script for television?" And at that time also, Bill and Sherry Steinkellner, names you've never heard of, were running Cheers. Mm-hmm. And Cheers was in its 10th season, and they asked us to come on staff at Cheers. So our first staff job was on the most popular show on television at the time. Mm-hmm. So we got a great start, and we stayed. We were very successful because when you start at the top, you just go up. The top gets higher and higher. So we wrote on the Nanny and eventually on the Drew Carey show. And when we got on the Ellen show, which was around 1993 or 4 or 5, something like 95, I guess, we stayed there for 4 or 5 seasons. And during that time, Ellen did the coming out episode, and we were chosen to write the first half of that, which ends with her saying that she's gay. So it was like all of a sudden we were under the microscope. Whereas what we had, when you're on these shows on staff, you don't get much attention. No, you're certainly not well known. Mm-hmm. people start to maybe see your name over and over again, but they don't know what it's for. They don't know what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had risen to, maybe we weren't co-executive producers there, but we were kind of up there, maybe supervising. I'm not sure what our title was, but Disney and ABC met with us and asked us if we would write that coming out episode. Now, I'll tell you, we're straight. I'm going to just lay it out there. My partner and I are straight. We were not a couple. And there were some gay people on staff. And I don't know why they chose to have two straight people write that episode. But maybe it was because my feeling was that, a relationship is a relationship and they're all the same. And you have the same problems, whether you're gay or straight. And so we were really coming at it from that point of view. And then we suddenly were getting all this media attention. And from then on, we got to kind of write our own ticket and got a development deal at ABC and Disney. And we're doing that for a number of years until we got According to Jim on the air, which is like winning the lottery in television. It's what you strive for. And then I was ready to quit because I just felt like I've been doing this just too long. And I wanted, I was a songwriter to begin with, and I played the guitar. And I wanted to go back to it. Now maybe I had enough money to support myself doing something that was not going to bring me any money.
That Ellen episode, you won an Emmy for that.
Yeah, it was, and Charlotte was in the audience when we were taping that. It was, I can't even tell you, it was we shot that. It was a 1-hour episode. Ours was the first half hour, and then the executive producers of the show wrote the second half hour, which is where she goes to therapy with Oprah and everything. It was really great. And Ellen was going, that's when she started dating Anne Heche. So there was just so much buzz and excitement, and we had bomb threats. We had to hide. I mean, every copy of every script had an initial written across it. Somebody's job was to write initials really big across everything, whosever script it was, so that it wouldn't leak out. And of course, it still did leak out, but probably not by a writer, probably by a production person or something like that. And I would say not intentionally too, kind of an offhand, because it was so exciting. I mean, how do you keep that under wraps, And kind of a dangerous time. I mean, she had a stalker. People, they were, the security was like the way it is now, or the way it became after 9/11. It was like this, we were just not used to that kind of security and scrutiny. And my partner and I we were scared. We were scared, but not too scared not to do it, but scared.
Yeah.
And I admire her so much for having the nerve to do that, because she was scared too.
So winning the Emmy, I mean, when the ceremony, everything, I know that our audience is going to want to know, what was that like?
Well, first of all, let me talk about my shoes. Because, one of the things that's great about writing for television, and you're a woman, you don't have to wear makeup, you can go there in sweats, you don't wear tennis shoes. I had more in high heels. I can't even tell you when the last time was. So suddenly I had to wear, like an Armani dress and really high heels, just in case I won. Right? It was, I took the heels off while I was sitting there waiting. So for hours I was barefoot, really barefoot, because I had a long dress, so I didn't have to wear stockings. And they were pretty comfortable as high heels go. But then I had to put them back on when they were announcing, and I could barely get my feet in them because they were so swollen by then. And but then it was otherworldly running up that aisle, and hey, look, it wasn't about me, it was really about her. But I was so happy to be on stage accepting an Emmy for that thing. And at one point she had to read something, so she reaches over trying to get my partner to take her Emmy, and he was so in another world. He was just like looking out at the audience. He didn't see that. So she hands it to me, the littlest person on stage, and they're heavy. And here I'm standing with Ellen's Emmy, and I'm like, You know, I mean, the smiles on my face
So
from the
big.
photo things, they're so embarrassing now. They were
They're so cute.
big.
They're so.
I was in
It's
another
amazing.
world. And then, they take you you go off stage and then you go through a battery of down this thing where you're being photographed everywhere, and you photograph with this backdrop and that backdrop and with this combination of people and this. And I mean, and of course I'm wearing those shoes all the time, and I was like suffering, couldn't wait to get back to my seat. But it was really, I barely remember it. What I'm telling you is my memory of it. That's it.
Tonight, live from the Pasadena Civic Auditorium, the 49th Annual Primetime Emmy Awards.
And now the nominees for Outstanding Writing for a Comedy Series are Ellen, Mark Driscoll, Dava Savell, Tracy Newman, Jonathan Stark, Ellen DeGeneres. The Larry Sanders Show, Gary Shandling, Judd Apatow, John Marcus. The Larry Sanders Show, John Beatty. The Larry Sanders Show, Peter Tolan. Seinfeld, Peter Melman, Jill Frank. And the Emmy goes to the team from Ellen.
This is Ellen's first nomination and first win in this category for an episode that made television history. This episode is nominated for 6 Emmys tonight. And speaking for Ellen is writer Ellen DeGeneres.
Wow. Thank you so much. I accept this on the behalf of all of the people and the teenagers especially out there who think there's something wrong with them because they're gay. And there's nothing wrong with you. Don't ever let anybody make you feel ashamed of who you are. Please hold this. There are so many people that went into doing this, and I'm sure I'm going to forget a lot of people, but Dava Savell, Mark Driscoll, Tracy Newman, John Stark, Matt Goldman, Jan Nash, David Flabat, Alex Hirschlag, Mark Wilding, Ellen Idelson, Rob Leiterstein, Vance DeGeneres, Dave Walpert, Jennifer Fisher. Our director, Gil Younger, it was fantastic. Congratulations to you, Gil, no matter what. Vic Kaplan, our executive producer, Laraine Richmond, who helps me every week. Everybody else, all the cast members, thank you so much. We really appreciate feeling acknowledged. Thank you.
That is really fun. So tell me about Tracy Newman and the Reinforcements.
Well, I started out singing by myself in a little tiny club called the Talking Stick, which was on Ocean Park Boulevard, which I'm sure you've been on. I was singing there by myself, and there were 2 people in the audience who started singing. I was singing a song called Laraine about my sister, and the chorus was really simple. So there were 2 people in the audience started harmonizing in the chorus, and I said, why don't you come up here and do that? And it was from the beginning perfect. They were perfect. And then this whole thing, I thought I was kind of out of the comedy world, even though I write some funny songs. But when we started, a couple months ago or a year ago, whenever we started working on Charlotte's
6 months,
Shorts,
I think, because we did the first
yeah, maybe
one.
6 months ago, I thought, I've missed this. I've missed directing these people.
Yeah.
I know all these people, and they're so brilliant and so funny. And suddenly I was back in this world where I was laughing all the time, and it was fun. I'm still, of course, a singer-songwriter, and that's going to be my main thing. But this is really exciting. And then, of course, the kids' CD, the coloring book that she did is magnificent, if I do say so. CD is great. I really hope it becomes sort of
Like a standard.
Standard kids CD, the soundtrack of your child's life, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm loving, kind of having no schedule except for what I make. And, I'm kind of doing whatever I want.
And that's, I think, where everybody in the arts wants to be, is doing whatever you want. doing
You know, you do, but then I say people still ask me, "What's your goal? What do you want?" And and they ask Charlotte that all the time. I just say yes to almost everything. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm. I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah.
So, what's the one thing that you guys think that everyone should know about living a creative life?
That it's unpredictable. Not that that's a surprise. People do know that.
It is hard work, just as hard as any other job. You put in as many, if not more hours, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think hopefully you love it and you get to keep loving it.
There are some jobs where you don't take your work home. This is not one of them.
No.
This is your home is this work.
Where can people learn more about you two?
Well, I have a website, and so does she. Mine is Tracy Newman, spelled just the way you would think it would be. Tracy, like Dick Tracy, or Spencer Tracy, or whatever your reference is. Tracy Lord, so Tracy, and Newman is like Paul Newman, so NEWMAN.com.
Well, thanks you two for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And having us together like this. We love it.
'Cause she knocks me out, she fills up my heart, she's my everything, my shining star, oh yeah. It's all coming back to me now. It's